David and David here. When I used to work at the Apple store, people would come in all the time with battery problems. It was the number one problem people would come in with, and they thought that they needed a new battery. The truth is that any Apple tech will tell you this. 99% of the time, the problem that they're having is with the software in the phone, not the hardware of the phone itself.
What did you say?
Yeah, we're going to start in the privacy sections of the Settings app. I'm going to open the Settings app on my iPhone. Scroll on down to Privacy. It's right below Battery. Yeah, interesting. And tap on Location Services.
This is one of the most important settings on your iPhone because it was one of the biggest battery drainers. We are not the type of people to tell you to turn off this entirely because it is part of what makes the iPhone so great to use.
Two things to look out for are Always and the purple arrows.
Right, be careful of those. So purple arrows means that your iPhone has used your location within the last 24 hours. Not always bad, but sometimes it can be kind of a red flag. And always means that your iPhone can use your location all the time, even when the app isn't running. So let's dive in.
Scroll down your list of apps and look for anything that says always. So DraftKings, for example, daily fantasy sports is not legal in every state, so you need to enter your location when you're entering a contest. However, you only need that when you're actually using the app. You don't need to do it all the time. So if I tap on DraftKings, I'm just going to switch that to while using the app.
And pay attention to this precise location switch too. Remember that when apps use your location, the more precise the location is, the more battery it's going to use. It's just the way GPS works.
Yeah, I'm going to tap back in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. Another one that I saw, SethQ. That's my bank. It's a smaller bank with probably not a very large development team. Don't want them having access to my location all the time.
Exactly. I don't think they knew what they were doing when they put this feature in there.
I'm going to tap SethQ, tap while using the app, and then tap back. Next, let's scroll down to System Services and tap on that.
Right.
If you've never been to this section of the Settings app before, I'm sure all of these switches are turned on for you, and we actually only recommend turning 3 of these on.
Right. And look at all the purple on David's phone. So the only 3 that we recommend leaving on are emergency calls and SOS, find my iPhone, and share my location if you use that.
Yep, so start tapping these switches to turn these things off. Compass calibration, purple arrow. Leave emergency calls and SOS on, leave find my iPhone on, off. Location for networking and wireless. You might see a pop-up like this saying, hey, these might affect your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and it probably won't, almost certainly won't.
They won't. Yeah, this is a lot more about sending information to Apple so that they can improve their products than it is about helping you get more out of your iPhone, except in a few of these circumstances. For instance, Wi-Fi calling. We got a comment once, people said, oh, you gotta have that on for Wi-Fi calling. False. I've had this off for months and Wi-Fi calling works perfectly, so turn it off.
Yep, next let's tap on significant locations right below the Wi-Fi calling switch. Kind of a weird feature, saves a list of all the places you visit most often. For me, right now it's just Half Moon, New York.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and just turn this switch right off.
Yeah, this is one that I would definitely turn off. Clear that history out. Really has a lot more to do with me for the battery saving than it does with the privacy, because Apple is really kind of the best big tech company, in my opinion, with privacy.
Yeah, let's tap back. And the last thing here in System Services is this product improvement section. Go ahead and just turn all these switches off. A little bit of battery life you'll be saving, and Apple can improve their own products.
Our next tip is going to be kind of controversial, so I'm going to duck, and it is to close out your apps. You should never have to do this, right? Apps are supposed to work perfectly, but they don't. App developers aren't perfect. The iPhone isn't perfect. I know. So definitely close out your apps. It's kind of like wearing the seatbelt in your car.
Swipe up from the bottom to the center of the screen to get to the app switcher and just swipe your apps up and off the top of the screen like that. Next, let's talk about notifications.
Notifications, more and more. More notifications are popping on the screen all the time. That means that there's something going on in the background where your phone is listening for notifications all the time. That could be a battery drainer. Sorry if I'm just pushing you over here. Yep. But it could also be kind of annoying. Let's get into settings and talk about how to choose notifications.
Yeah, I'm going to open the Settings app. If you just close it like I just did, you'll be brought right back to the main page of the Settings app, and we're just going to tap on notifications right here.
Look through this list and start to choose which apps you want to allow to send you notifications when you're not using them. Let's take a look.
Yeah, so Clubhouse, for example, if you use Clubhouse, you know that they send you a bajillion notifications all the time, and it's very distracting. So I'll just tap on Clubhouse. You have some options here. You can just turn off notifications entirely.
Right.
Or you can just select the ones that you want to see.
Right. There's a lot of great settings in here. I would just turn them off entirely. If you're not sure, this is really one of those things just going to make your life a little bit less hectic as well as save you some battery life.
It's a win-win!
Next, let's talk about dark mode. It looks cool and it can save battery life.
Makes sense, right? It's just kind of a logical thing. Google specifically recommends doing this on their Pixel phones. Why not do it on iPhone too? If the screen is darker, less battery life.
Yeah, so I'm going to tap notifications, upper left-hand corner of the screen, back to settings, upper left-hand corner of the screen, and scroll down to display and brightness. Tap on that, and then just tap on dark.
Beautiful. Automatic means that it's going to switch to light mode in the morning and dark mode at night. You can switch off that automatic switch so that it's just dark mode all the time. That's the way I like to use my phone.
And while you're here, just check auto lock. You probably don't want auto lock set to never. I do for this video because it's a screen recording, and if the screen locks, then we lose the recording. So we recommend, 2 to 5 minutes is generally pretty good.
Right. 2 minutes. I'm a 2-minute guy. In and out.
In and out. Next, let's talk about background app refresh.
But wait, there's more.
Background app refresh allows certain apps to download content in the background of your iPhone, even when you're not using them.
First thing here, look at the option at the top of the screen, tap on background app refresh, and here you have off, Wi-Fi, and Wi-Fi and cellular data. We recommend setting this to Wi-Fi because if background app refresh gets out of control, you can drain a lot of cellular data pretty quickly.
Right, and if you don't have a great connection to your cellular data network, that's also going to use more battery than if you do have a good connection. So as you're traveling, this could really become a battery drainer when you're in areas without good cell coverage.
Yeah, so just tap on Wi-Fi. To switch to Wi-Fi, a little blue check will appear.
Right.
Let's tap back in the upper left-hand corner of the screen.
Yep.
And now go through this list of apps. Which apps do you want downloading new content in the background of your iPhone? Probably not many of them.
Right.
And by default, I think most of these switches are going to be on for you. So you can just kind of go through this list and start turning some of them off and
Right.
just go all the way down.
Next, we're going to talk about reduced motion. Any gamer will tell you that the iPhone's battery drains faster and the iPhone gets hot when they're playing a 3D game. And that's because the iPhone is using the GPU, or graphics processing unit, a lot. Reduced motion helps you to use the GPU less, which is going to save your battery life, and you probably won't even notice a difference.
Yeah, I'll tap back in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, back to settings, and scroll down to accessibility. Next, tap on motion, and just turn on that switch next to reduce motion at the top of the screen.
So some of the transitions might look different, like if you swipe up to go back to the home screen, it's more of a blur than it is a slidey thing. Over time, these things add up, less GPU usage.
Tap back to accessibility in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, and while we're here, let's talk about reduce white point. Tap display and text size is just one above motion, and scroll down here to reduce white point.
I have a secret. When I'm in bed at night, sometimes I'm trying to read something on my iPhone, and the screen is too bright. So reduced white point is a total 100% of the time this is on for me. This just makes the brightest of the bright light on your iPhone a little bit darker, and I don't notice a difference. I have it on 50% all the time.
Yes, you can just tap that switch, turn it on, and you just saw my screen a little dimmer there. You can just drag the switch and find a setting that works for you. 50% is pretty good.
It's just putting out less power. It's probably one of the reasons I have such great battery life.
Very interesting.
Our next tip is in the battery section of the settings app. It's probably about time we went there. Tap back in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, tap back to the main settings page, and scroll down here to battery, and then tap on battery health.
Lithium-ion batteries are great, but they don't like two things. The first is they don't like to be charged super fast. And the second is they don't like to be charged up to 100% all the time. Optimized battery charging keeps track of how you use your iPhone, and it will automatically charge it to less than 100%, which is going to keep that maximum capacity number closer to 100% for longer. Also increases the resale value of your phone. The next one has to do with a new feature in iOS 14, widgets. Let's dive in.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to the home screen of my iPhone. I'm just going to swipe up here. If you have an iPhone with a home button, just press the home button once to get to the home screen. Then swipe left to right to get to widgets, and scroll down and tap edit. We recommend removing unnecessary widgets that you don't use, because they're kind of like mini apps, and if you don't use them, they're draining battery on your iPhone, and you just get rid of them and save some battery life.
Right.
Tap the minus button in the upper left-hand corner of the widget, then tap remove. Now it's gone.
Yeah, it's kind of like closing a mini app that's just running all the time, as David said.
Yeah, and then just tap done in the upper right-hand corner of the screen.
Our next tip is to keep your iPhone cool. So cold temperatures, although it may drain your battery very quickly, as soon as your iPhone warms back up, your battery will go right back up and it's fine. Hot temperatures, on the other hand, can permanently damage your iPhone battery. Sometimes they explode, rarely, but it can permanently damage your battery, so don't leave your iPhone in a hot car.
Yeah, our next tip, we're going back to the settings app. I'm going to swipe right to left and then tap on settings. We're going to tap back on battery, upper left-hand corner of the screen, back to the main page of the settings app, and we're going to scroll down and tap on mail, and then tap accounts.
Let's talk about fetch new data. And David, let's go into that menu.
Tap on that.
Right, so push at the top. Push means that your iPhone is constantly checking these accounts and asking, is there mail? 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 And that's pretty much not what I need. I just need alerts every 15 minutes or whenever I open the mail app. So I recommend turning off push at the top. This is a big iPhone battery drainer.
Yep, just tap the switch next to push.
Yeah.
And then come down here. I already have 15 minutes checked off. And as you said, anytime you open the mail app, it is going to check for the latest inbox.
Right, so unless you need that email right now, turn this on. You save a bunch of battery life.
For our next tip, we're going back to the privacy section of the settings app. Tap accounts in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. Tap mail in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. And tap settings in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. Tap privacy, it's a few up from mail. And then scroll down to analytics and improvements and tap on that.
This is sharing the way that you use your phone with Apple and other app developers. I recommend just turning them all off.
Yeah, so just tap switch, share iPhone Watch analytics. You get a pop up here, it also turns it off for your Apple Watch. Okay. Turn it off.
A little bit of a bonus there. You came here thinking you'd save your iPhone battery life, and you just saved some Apple Watch battery life.
Our next tip is to turn your iPhone off once a week.
Pretty technical, we know,
Speaking a language we can understand, Mr. Scientist.
but can solve all sorts of problems. It's like a computer. If it starts to glitch out, you turn it off, turn it back on, things are fixed. Same thing with the iPhone. It is a computer.
Yeah, live with these tips for a week or two and see if your iPhone battery life improves. For most people, it will.
Yeah.
However, if it doesn't improve, you might need to DFU restore your iPhone.
Right, DFU stands for Device Firmware Update, takes everything off your iPhone, so make sure you have a backup first, iTunes, iCloud. DFU Restore, I've got a video on that. It's pretty easy to do. Check the description below. So those are some great iPhone battery tips. Hope you enjoyed. Remember to subscribe to our channel, and we will see you soon.